newsletter this week, and we kind of missed the opportunity at the beginning when you gave your when you talked about your organization. That's unfortunate, but maybe we can add another video about Bethany Kids onto our website afterwards.
Yeah, that'd be great. We are recording now, so great thinking. I will send you the file when we're done.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Peter. All right, continuing on with the interview.
So I'm Maya. My question is, what are the greatest challenges in your of living and working in another country?
Thanks, Maya. So that's a good question. Most of my life as an adult, I was living in the Middle East. So it's a country that's pretty hot compared to Vancouver Island, often getting above 50 degrees. So just at a very basic level, that's an adjustment. But when you live in a different culture that speaks a different language, you also have to adapt to realizing that you don't know all the answers and you don't have all the solutions. I think it humbles all of us when we are the only one who looks like ourselves in the room. We're the only one who speaks our language in the room. I think we get a great deal of humility, which is something I think is pretty important as I go into my work, as we try to provide surgeries across a continent, to have that sense of humility, that just because I'm from Canada does not mean I have all the answers, but it does mean I get to partner with other countries and all the other people, and hopefully together we can solve the problems.
Next question, moving down to Liv.
So my name is Liv, and my question is, how do you raise support for your organization, and how do you get people to care?
That's a good question, and I wish I knew the perfect answer. We're still trying it out. We try to speak on a lot of podcasts. We try to use Instagram quite a bit to tell people our story. We try to send emails and newsletters to people to try to update them. But your question of how to get people to care is really a tricky one, because I think most people, they only see the world around them. They see their own family, and trying to get people to realize that folks around the world, they have family and they have needs and they have good days and bad days, and they cry like all of us. How to get us here in North America to feel that pain, to feel a sense of empathy, that's not easy. And it's something we're trying to figure out every day.
All right, next student. Who's up next? Joseph? No. Yeah, Joseph, I think that was the one that you were taking over.
Yeah, that's Joseph.
No, I was doing one.
Oh, was it the one Madison did?
Well, no, I thought
Madison was taking the
You're doing that one, and then this one.
Sorry, logistical issue.
No problem.
Do you mind asking that question, Joseph?
Yeah, Joseph.
Madison had originally said that she was going to ask it.
My name is Joseph, and
Oh, can you stand so Peter can see you? Can you move over just a little bit?
Hey, Joseph.
Oh, there you are.
my name is Joseph, and question is, do you have to be a doctor or have gone to medical school to work with this organization?
Yeah, that's a great question. The answer is no. It depends what role you have within the organization. So we train medical surgeons, pediatric surgeons from all across the continent of Africa. So obviously those people are people with medical experiences. We also have physiotherapists, occupational therapists. All of those people are frontline medical folks. And all of them live in their home countries across the continent of Africa. So those of us who help in the West, we are teachers and communicators and people trying to raise awareness. And so when you're someone who tries to raise awareness, you can have a whole different skill set. We have finance people, we have people who are experts in charity. And so together with all the different skills, all the different backgrounds, we hopefully make Bethany Kids work.
Fantastic. Yeah, go ahead, Elsie.
My name's Elsie, and my question is, where or how do you perform surgeries and operations, and do you have to set up a temporary hospital room?
Great question. So typically we don't have to set up temporary hospital rooms because we don't fly surgeons around the world. Like some charities will have a surgeon from Vancouver or something and they will fly to another place. We train surgeons who live and work in their home countries. So they're based out of local hospitals. So to answer your question, we perform surgeries in Sierra Leone and Cameroon. We also perform surgeries in Madagascar and Zambia. And we perform surgeries in Kenya, Uganda, and Ethiopia. So three kind of regions, but 7 different countries within Africa. We usually do it in hospitals. We usually perform surgeries in hospitals, but we do sometimes have like a mobile clinic that goes out and helps people before surgery or after they get a surgery. So hopefully that answers the questions about where and the kind of places that we're performing surgery.
Thank you very much. Peter, this next question is slightly repetitive, but I think it's still a good question to ask regardless. Thanks, Madison.
Hi, I'm Madison, and my question
Madison.
is, how do you get so many people to donate, and how do you raise awareness about it?
Right. So yeah, not an easy task to get people to donate because one, I think there are some well-known big charities out there, and it's hard to really tell these smaller stories that people haven't heard. So it's almost like in a business world, it's sad to say, but there's that sense of competition. So it's hard to get your voice heard when everyone else is asking for money. It's also a challenge when the work that you do is so far away. It's hard to kind of imagine. So our goal is to somehow try to tell stories that really kind of touch people's heartstrings here in the West. So we have like staff members and former patients whose lives have been transformed because of our work. So we'll sometimes record their story and put it on YouTube. We often will send out letters. Every month we send out an email to all of our supporters. Sometimes we just say thank you. Sometimes we say, here's a great story from one of our hospitals. And then twice a year, I send out like an old-fashioned printed letter because some of the donors that you're looking for could be young, but some of them could be older and they don't use the internet. So we try to use different things. So we've got letters by email, 2 letters a year that are printed. And then very frequently, I'll be speaking on podcasts or other people's YouTube channels to try to tell this story. We also use Instagram a lot, so we're posting 2 or 3 times a week just to try to raise awareness, because that tends to be the first step before you can fundraise. Is you've got to get people to care, which was one of your colleagues or fellow students' questions. You first have to get people interested and get people caring, and then show them how they might be able to help with their money or their time.
Good. And Lachlan? Or am I taking that question? Oh, fantastic. I had all my students write down which question they were going to ask, but I didn't write down my own. Approximately, my name's Bradley. How many kids approximately do you help each year?
Yeah, that's a good question. It depends on the year because every year it gets a bit more and more as we grow. But I think you could say we do about 3,000 surgeries a year. And then there are children who we're kind of following up with, who we've seen in previous years, who we're still connected with. So we have, if you look at a bigger picture, we would do thousands more physiotherapy and occupational therapy sessions. But at a basic line, there's 3,000 surgeries. You could probably guess that we're seeing up to 5,000 kids in a year. And then their families, of course, get help because of how we've helped the children.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I think we have a couple more follow-up questions as well. Okay, go ahead. Max, do you still have another question you'd like to ask?
Okay, my name's Olivia. This is a follow-up question to what Mr. Bradley asked. What's the most common thing you treat within kids? Is it like certain, I don't know, but yeah.
That's a really good question. And it's a bit complicated because it depends on the country. So every country has different challenges. So historically, if I looked in the last kind of 20 years, we've done a lot of neurosurgery. So that's to do with your head and brain and spine. So those are very expensive and very difficult surgeries. We also do a lot of corrective issues around corrective surgeries around bones or face. Maybe a mouth is got problems. One of the common things we see is that a child is born and they don't have the ability that you and I have to go to the bathroom in a typical way. Either there's no hole where there's supposed to be a hole, or there's some other kind of issue. And so by helping give a child who tends to be very young, give them a surgery, that means they're able to kind of behave like all the other kids in their classrooms. We also, with physiotherapy and occupational therapy, we just have a lot of kids who they have spinal issues. And so trying to relearn how to use their arms and legs and body, torso, that would be quite common. In one of our hospitals in Western Africa, we see a lot of pediatric burns. So a lot of kids getting burned and needing some kind of surgery from our hospital there. So every country is a bit different, and it's kind of a range depending on where you are. But good question.
Thank you, Peter. Max, you can go up and ask if you have an additional question.
Hey, what was the worst surgery you've ever had to do?
I don't think he does the surgery.
Right. Yeah. So I appreciate the question. And as your teacher said, I don't perform any of the surgeries, but I can just retell from our staff. Sometimes you go in thinking it's one kind of surgery and you have to open up the patient up, and it sounds like a gory horror movie, but you've got a person open on the operating table and you realize that things are far more complicated than you thought they were. Maybe they came in and they had one or two symptoms and you thought, oh, I know what this is. And then you open up the body and it's usually a small child and you realize that there's just no hope, that there's no way to save this kid. And that is very difficult for a surgeon whose whole life exists to try to save lives, to open up a child and realize this isn't possible. This is not going to happen. And I would say those kinds of situations where you can't save someone's life, surgeons don't forget those moments, and they really carry them for a very long time. And that makes it harder and harder to keep trying to save lives every day.
Go ahead if you have a question, Joseph.
How long have you been doing this? And if you've been doing it for a while, are you in contact with some of the people you've helped?
Yeah. So, thanks, Joseph. So me personally, I've been with Bethany Kids for just 1 year. So I'm relatively new, and my whole time with Bethany Kids has been in the middle of a pandemic. But as an organization, we have been in existence for about 20 years. And so to answer your question about do we still have contact with people, the answer is very much yes. We have people whose lives we saved 20 years ago who are now staff members. And I'll give you one example. Her name is Francesca. And when she was born, she had something called spina bifida. And spina bifida prevented her from using the washroom properly, from walking the way that you and I might walk. And when she was born, because of the area that she was born in, her parents thought that she was cursed. And they were afraid of her. And so they tried to kill her. They tried to poison her. And their thinking was, this child is dangerous. This child is unsafe. And so, yeah, they tried to kill her. And by the time she was a teenager, because of the bowel issues that she had never once, and I know this sounds gross, but she had never been dry. She was always wet with her own body fluids, pee, poo, whatever. Can you imagine how difficult that would be and how depressed you might feel? So she felt so terrible about it that she actually said to me, and has said to many others before, she wished in that moment when she was a teenager, her parents were successful and that she wasn't alive. She just felt so terrible. But in that moment, around the time she was a teenager, she met Bethany Kids. We started doing the surgeries that she needed. We started to give her the care that she needed. And now, not only is she just a wonderful, happy, smiling lady, she's the mother of her own child, something she didn't think was even possible. And now she works for Bethany Kids, helping children who are just like her, who have spina bifida, who have some of these challenging diseases, and helping them kind of feel a sense of hope, because she didn't feel that hope when she was a kid. Now she's able to teach, she's able to train so that they know how to use their bodies in a way that they can be hopeful and they can live a life that is normal. They can go to play, they can go to school, etc. So she's one of many, many people we stay in touch with. And in this case, because she's a staff member.
Thank you very much for that, Peter. That sounds like a very inspiring story. Does anyone else have any questions for Peter before we disconnect? All right, Peter, thank you so much for speaking to my students. I'm so incredibly proud to call you a friend, and I'm so proud of the great work that you're doing overseas. I just say all power to you, and I hope that you continue on this pathway for a long, long time. You're truly inspirational, and you've benefited my students today from hearing what it is that you're doing and some of the problems that are facing the world. So I just really thank you for your time. Grade sixes, do you mind if we give Peter a round of applause?
Thank you, guys. I'm honored to be here because I see that these children care about the world and want to make it a better place. So I'm just excited to follow along and see what sort of ideas they come up with to really start now to make this world better. So all the best. This was an honor. Thank you.
All right. Take care, Peter. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Pleasure.
Bye.